Welcome to Third Chances, a talk show where we like to hear from people who devoted their life to health, fitness and wellness. Medical professionals, health coaches and all the others who help us every day to cure our body, mind or soul. Those who always look for more natural, holistic ways to help even more people to live a happier and healthier life. Those who don't like to give up easily and settle on you or themselves. It is never too late or too soon. I always believe that every one of us deserves not just a second chance, but as many as we need. I'm Vera, your host. Who better than a master of reinvention with an accent to guide you through it, right? Just like they say, you are not a tree, so move. And God knows I have done just that in my own life many times. If you are not completely happy with the direction your life is going, this show may help you get the courage to change what is needed, find a new path and take charge. So come on over, pour yourself a glass of wine and spend some time with us. Let's laugh and cry together and get inspired by people just like you and me who overcame their own doubts and took a leap of faith to reinvent their life on their own terms. I hope and pray that we help you on that journey. And if you feel so compelled and inspired, please let us know. Don't be shy. Who knows, you may just be our next featured guest with another inspiring success story. So here we go. Hello everybody, and welcome to our episode of Third Chances. And today's guest is a very special one because we met on LinkedIn. And when I realized not only that we have a lot in common because he's also interested in health and avoiding medications and helping people to be better themselves, but he also lives in my home country. And that was actually what attracted me to Roderick at the first place. And we started to talk, and better you know it, we like each other. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk to Roderick today on our podcast. He is a health and life executive coach. He is a midlifer's guide to permanent weight loss and metabolic health. He's helping busy people aged 40 to 60 take back control of their health and avoid the medications. And most importantly, he's quite interesting human being. So welcome, Roderick, to our show. And please tell us about you and how it happened that you end up in Czech Republic and how it happened that you end up being this kind of coach.
Thank you, Vera. I'm delighted to be here with you on your podcast. Thanks very much for the invitation and for the kind introduction. I'm a little bit self-conscious when someone says interesting human being, but thank you. It's very kind of you.
You are.
Thank you. So today I help busy midlifers lose weight forever and regain their metabolic health. But it wasn't always that way. I started off in the UK, son of a Czech mother and an English dad. Educated.
Oh, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
Right.
Educated in the UK. I was a little chorister singing in St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, which many of your audience will have seen recently, a couple of years back at the wedding of Prince, which is the younger one? I can never remember. Harry, I think, isn't it? William. Harry. There you go. Well, William and Meghan, or was it Harry and Meghan?
No, Harry and Meghan.
Harry and Meghan, right?
Oh, you're the true British. I can see that.
I can't remember which one, but anyway, so so that chapel that they had their wedding, and I sang there once every day in the evening for 6 years, for the age of 8 to 13, up in the castle. And then secondary school, university, and in the meantime, I'd met a beautiful girl in my mother's hometown, Klatovy, in as it was just about then still the Czechoslovak Republic, I think. Mm-hmm. And fell in love. And after university, with a music degree, I was thinking, what am I going to do with myself? I moved to be back with her in Czech Republic, or Czechia as it's called these days.
Yeah.
And yeah, 25 years later, I'm still here with the same, now married to that girl with an 8-year-old boy.
Well,
And yeah, so how does
congratulations.
yeah, so there you go. That's my quick life story anyway.
That's interesting. I forgot that part that you were also in the music because that was my childhood as well. Funny how we move away from things that we thought we couldn't live without, right?
It is, it is. Although for me, it's more of a family tradition. My grandmother was a concert pianist, and she
Mhm.
wrote music. She was a composer, and she also wrote music for adult beginners and also for children beginners, so tutorial books.
Wow.
And my dad is a musicologist with a passion and specialization in Czech music.
Oh,
So
wow,
it's
that's interesting.
yeah.
Wow. So you
So
have
I was
rich tradition in your family for sure.
we do, and I kind of broke tradition because although I studied, I got a bachelor's of music degree. I came over here, didn't know what to do, taught English as many native speakers did back in
Yeah.
1997, or
Well,
no,
it
what
was
was it,
quite
1994,
needed at that
25
time.
years.
Not many people spoke English at that time.
It's much
Yeah.
better today for sure.
Yeah.
Then got into actually management in a language school, and then got into HR in a big French international group, and that's when my sort of corporate career started. Quite a successful career. I sort of moved up the corporate ladder
Mhm.
until I hit the age of 40, became a father, and got my next big corporate job. It turned out to be my last one, because a few years after that, I decided that I had enough of the treadmill. And after much reflection, thinking, I decided that what had been good for me for the last 15 years wasn't going to be what I wanted to do for the second half of my life.
What was the
Um,
biggest deciding factor? Was it the time freedom to be with your family?
it was the pressure of trying to perform at work, perform at home as a husband and a father of a
Mhm.
baby, that was grinding me down into this sort of very unhappy person. And I was piling on the weight. I'd always been
Yeah.
overweight,
I have seen
but
some very unflattering pictures that you were vulnerable enough to share for people to see. Where can you take them from?
right. Well, exactly. I used to be exactly like that. And one doctor even told me, it's quite likely that you're going to have a heart attack in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I was only like early 40s, 41 or something, with various problems apart from being overweight and not being able to see my toes. I was also had rashes under my armpits, and bad sleep, and all sorts of issues that came and went. And the only advice doctors gave me was eat less, move more, and get a
Yeah.
less stressful job.
Can I
Ah,
ask you, what was your diet like then?
well, it was quite a lot of junk food. I mean, I was eating like croissants with ham and cheese at my desk mid-morning. I was trying to eat breakfast, have a health. I thought breakfast, most important meal of the day. I had a high fiber cereal mixed with some porridge oats in low-fat milk and a
Oh,
glass of
yeah, the low
orange
fat.
juice in the morning. And not surprisingly, I was hungry 2 hours later, and having I was never into sweet stuff particularly.
Mm.
I did like a dessert, but it was the savory croissants and cheese sandwiches and that sort of thing.
Good. So you're not
Um,
blaming it entirely on the Czech cuisine.
Oh no, this is very standard Western, a standard Western pattern diet, or as
Yeah,
we like to put all the blame on the US, the standard American diet. But we've
right.
happily adopted it in all industrial countries, and become addicted to it. And that was, yeah, a slice of pizza on the way home because needed a snack at 5 in the afternoon, and then a late dinner after putting my son to bed, for
Mm.
instance, plenty of beer, of course, and not a lot of time for that, exercise. But
Yeah.
honestly, to have outrun that diet, I would have needed to go jogging half marathons every day of the week just to be able to try and outrun that bad diet.
So what was the breaking point for you when you realized you can continue like that and something got to change?
Well, it was this information about, in 5 years' time, you might have a heart attack. It was the mention of something I'd never heard before called metabolic syndrome, which these days we know all about, and has actually been clearly defined by the World Health Organization, for instance. And it was simply this black tunnel of basically working my butt off to try and keep people happy in a big corporation where you literally don't make a dent in the universe. Everything moves so slowly and your impact is so small that it's a wheel that it just keeps going. You could do it until you drop down dead. And honestly, even in our HR department, about 100 people in the department, a number of them had various types of cancer, some brain tumors, some had, mental, nervous breakdowns and that sort of thing. And I never put two and two together that it was directly related to the stress of trying to perform in that kind of environment.
Plus probably unhealthy lifestyle as it was
and that
yours,
just doubles
right?
down on it. The combination of bad sleeping habits, poor diet with lack of movement, and chronic elevated stress is just it's a recipe for a heart attack by the time you're 50, I'm afraid.
But it's funny you say that, because obviously that was a big wake-up call for you. But it's one thing to decide for yourself that things got to change because you want to save your life and be there for your kids to grow. But it's a whole other thing to jump in and study everything you know about it and do it as a business. So how was that leap? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
Not at all, Vera. But yeah, and actually I had two things going on. It was this midlife crisis, this kind of turning point where I realized I didn't want to do this anymore, and there was the health aspect, and they worked in parallel. With hindsight, they were clearly connected, but I didn't see it like that. So the first thing was, what do I do with my life? And it took me a couple of years of researching, talking to my wife. We made a plan. And then I quit, and I spent a year training to be a coach. That was that part of it. And the other part was kind of parallel, but I didn't really connect the dots. By chance, I came across the low carb world on Facebook. And I'm kind of the person who likes to delve into rabbit holes and study. And so I was getting all these resources about low carb, high fat, keto, etc., all these different things, and studying it. And after literally about at least a year of examining the evidence and the method, I applied it on myself, and I started. And in 6 months, I went from basically around 90 kilograms down to around 70, 72 kilograms. I lost 20 kilograms in 6 months.
Wow.
And I didn't
40
suffer.
pounds for American audience.
Exactly. Actually 20 kilograms is
more than 40 pounds, I guess, right?
Yeah. More than 40 pounds. It's like 45, 6, 7 pounds. Yeah. So
you were not that big to begin with, though.
I was 3 kilograms at my heaviest for 179 centimeters. What's that in pounds and inches? I can't tell you, I'm afraid. But it was just over the boundary of class 1 obesity. BMI 30 point something, 31 I got to. So, and today I'm BMI 21, 22. And most importantly, that waist height ratio. Today, my waist height ratio is about 0.48. And basically you want to have a waist height ratio of less than 0.5 for optimal health. And I don't know what my waist height ratio was, but it must have been around 1, I guess, because all that fat, most of that fat was in my belly, basically. All that visceral fat.
That's usually man has that issue, the midsection. Yeah. So how, again, like you saw results for yourself, how easy was it to translate it into a business for you?
Right. Well, I didn't initially. It was my passion. It was my fascination, especially the pressure from the world around me. Even my wife, you can't eat all that. You're going to have a heart attack. What about your cholesterol? You're losing weight. All my friends were saying, asking my wife, is he ill?
Yeah.
Because I was losing weight so quickly, and it's fun. It's a funny world where when you put on weight, people don't comment necessarily, or they say it with a smile. Oh, that guy's, he's relaxed. He's got,
They want
and when
to,
you
but they
lose weight,
don't.
and when you lose weight, they think you're ill. But
Yeah.
it's very bizarre that when you get to an optimal weight, you're actually considered an outlier. I don't want to say outcast, but an outlier, a bit unusual. So that was fascinating. But actually, I started off basically. I trained as a coach for a year, set up in Prague. I wanted to be, a life coach more than an executive coach. I didn't really want to go back into that corporate world. And then COVID came, and I realized I can do what I love to do online with anybody in the world. I don't have to go to Prague and network and build a client base, etc. And then online, okay, I need a niche. So, what is my story? My story is breaking the corporate golden handcuffs, escaping the rat race, taking the plunge, and basically in midlife changing the direction of my life. So that was my initial niche, but I was still fascinated and passionate about nutrition, metabolic health, weight loss. So I was listening, reading, studying, and at one point, it was only about 20 months ago, I realized, okay, so this midlife transformation niche is really fascinating. I've had some really good clients, but I spend most of my time actually studying health. So the niche was easy because it's the same demographic, 40 to 60, generally working, busy people, company owners, managers. Just simply that their needs are different, rather than leaving a career that is quite difficult to leave because of all the golden handcuffs, as I call them. This is about the fact that they no longer fit in their suits, that they've neglected their health for their career, for their family, for their whatever it might be. And
which could be even stronger reason for hiring a coach, to be honest.
You say that, Vera. It's very interesting. It's not easy to get people to make a decision to say, yes, I'm going to prioritize my health because the doctors are telling me this, and I'm taking this medication, and I know that I live unhealthily, and that I'm, setting myself up for maybe lifespan will be maintained, but health span that will be, quality of life that will be handicapped by my health. And to get people to actually to make that decision is actually quite hard. People will always go for the quick option, the pill from the doctor, the supplement they see on TV, and that's
they hope for a shortcut. And as I'm listening to you, and I'm sure it is not easy to make people even see that they need to change things, and they fear change, like we all do. But would you say that maybe they have some pre-assumptions about how you work and what you will ask of them, that maybe that prevents them from reaching out because they are afraid that you will be running them to gym and going with some crazy diets? I'm sure people's minds are running million directions when they consider something like that, to even ask for help.
That's an excellent question, and unfortunately we've been sold this messaging that it's all your fault, you're lazy, it's sloth, you don't move enough, and you eat too much, and this your responsibility. And it's not strictly true, because the food environment that we're being sold is addictive, and it's geared for you to come back and have more. Plus, our modern lifestyles don't simply allow us to spend a lot of time in the gym or doing exercise. And it's exercise normally breaks down because you have an injury, or it gets cold and dark outside, or it's raining, or something changes in your routine and you don't have that time anymore. And then of course there's motivation. I'd rather simply have a beer and watch the football. It's simply it's hard to keep that motivation. Yeah. And
How
what
about
people
the
don't,
combination with the doctor's advice about nutrition, which is horrific? When that was my biggest aha moment in America, when I realized the doctors study for years to become specialized in whatever, field they choose. They spend about 1 full day on nutrition out of all those years. That tells you a lot. And yet everybody who is introduced to diet, there's always like, consult with your doctor. They have no clue about
yeah.
nutrition. They are still going low fat and whatever the previous flavor of the month was.
It's still the same flavor. Yes, eat less, move more, base your diet in grains, eat as little meat as possible, and lots of veg in the middle. It's the same old thing. And there are a lot of reasons now that we know, the influence of industry, whether that be food manufacturers or pharmaceutical companies, that they are in control of the information flow to doctors. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
in most cases, I should point out there are some really amazing exceptions who. In the United States, in the UK, in Europe, who have had the blinkers taken away, and they've gone and looked into the scientific literature, because it is all there. It's hiding in full view.
Yeah.
You just have to sort of stop listening to this dogma, and go and look in the literature. And as any kind of inquisitive, curious doctor who's wondering why they've never cured anybody of their type 2 diabetes in 20 years of practice, maybe it could occur to them, well, perhaps what I'm being told I should do by the Diabetes Association, by the Heart Association, by my governing body, and by the pharma rep who's coming to tell me about the greatest new pill, isn't actually working. And there are, Dr. Tony Hampton in the Chicago area is a fantastic vocal advocate for lifestyle first holistic healthcare.
Thank God for more functional
there.
doctors coming into field, realizing that the drugs are not the answer for everything. And I'm afraid that the typical doctor doesn't even have a time nor the passion to go and do an additional research on top of their hours that they spend
absolutely
at the office. So it's kind of understandable, but it's really scary when you consider how many people take their doctor's word for gold. They just don't question it.
Yeah, and that's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I think the real giveaway is when your doctor, who clearly doesn't look particularly healthy, is giving you advice on how to prevent or reduce the effects of the classic chronic diseases that is completely destroying our industrial populations. That's kind of that bell. And start having a look around, at least that maybe there's something wrong with popping some more pills. Perhaps there's another way of approaching this. But to go back to your question about getting people to decide, yes, there's the pills, but then exactly, they think, I'm going to have to sweat, I'm going to have to make time, I'm going to have to do a lot of exercise I don't enjoy, or I'm embarrassed, etc. No. Yes, movement is great. Eat tasteless, just salad and broccoli and lean chicken breast. Absolutely not. It's, you can do this without moving much. You don't, if you can get a couple of times for a 20-30 minute walk, perfect. If you like to lift some moderate weights of a weekend, great. But that's not the key. That's not the foundation. The foundation is completely changing what you eat, when you eat, and looking at your sleep habits as well a bit. And I actually have a waist circumference guarantee that in a certain amount of time, my client will lose a certain amount of centimeters off their waist. And basically, if they don't, I will continue to coach them for free until they do. I've never had to yet activate that guarantee.
How big part of this journey is their mindset, would you say?
Yes, of course. Mindset is everything. I mean, what I'm actually selling isn't so much the knowledge, the curation of people who are far more educated and know much more about the topic than I do myself. You know, I've curated or I've done the study, the research, and I'm kind of presenting it in a understandable and easy to apply way. But you know, that's just part of, you can get that pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
It's the changing your habits and lifestyles and the mindset. It's about listening to your you know, your sense of hunger and satiety before and after you eat. It's about realizing that when you eat more of this, then you're going to crave much less the other stuff. It's going to impact your sleep. It's about understanding that when you step out your door, where you're no longer in control of your food environment, you're going to have to make some mindful, conscious decisions. It's about becoming agent in your own life. In the end, it's coaching. Coaching is almost always about creating freedom of choice through being mindful of what's going on.
Yeah.
When you are able to understand what's going on, you stop automatically reacting and you start to create choice. Well, I can do what I would normally do, or actually, because I'm now aware of what's going on, I can make a choice to do it differently. And unfortunately, we eat automatically. Whatever, you know, comes up, it's normally very tasty, obviously, but we do it automatically. And when you then know what's going on and you're more in tune with your hunger and satiety, and you're at a business lunch, for instance, then you can start making choices about, okay, so there's a steak and the fries. Right, I know the steak is going to, it's nutrient dense. It's going to give my body what it needs. It's going to fill me up for much longer. And I'm going to leave the fries because they're soaked in vegetable oil as it is. I know that's highly inflammatory. I know that all those, you know, the starches are going to raise my blood sugar, and I'm going to be hungry in 90 minutes. And I'm going to have this huge slump after I've eaten it. And I've got this meeting afterwards. So I'm going to make a choice, have the steak. And when you have this freedom of choice, suddenly this agency, funnily enough, a lot of my clients find that they start to realize that in other areas of their life, they could do with some more agency as well, whether it be at home with their partner, at work with their boss, family, broader family pressures, etc. That sometimes you have to focus in on one thing to experience true agency, which is just another way of saying freedom of choice, if you like, that I decide less than other people or my environment. And then they can start applying it to other parts of their life. And that's scary as well. So the coaching part is actually key. I can give someone my food protocol, my how to get started guide, you know, they'll know exactly what they need to do. But to maintain and create new habits, to rewire the brain so that after 3 or 6 months or 12 months of working with me, they don't go back and yo-yo, which is what everybody does, but maintain a way of life for the rest of their life that will keep them healthy, energetic, clear-minded, and without pills. You know, that is the key.
Yeah, and the accountability that come from coach like you, that, you know, people freak out, then they broke the diet for a day or two, and they freak out that, oh my God, I messed it up, and give up altogether. Right. When having somebody like you on their side would give them the power to reassure them, okay, well, we messed up, but just let's right back on a horse, and it's, I'm sure one day doesn't destroy anybody's diets, just like one day of healthy eating would make anybody healthy.
Exactly. That's a great point. It works either way. Exactly. And that's the thing. And with the coach, you can actually talk in that safe space, because a coach is trained to create a non-judgmental, supportive space that just helps you to reflect back on yourself and the things you do and say and think and feel. That's exactly the point. So you can talk through it, and you can actually help them to move on and re-navigate, get their goal back in the sights and re-energize them.
But what I like about what you just said is the losing weight part is very visual and very encouraging for people. You see the success right in front of your eyes. You look in the mirror and you see that you are looking better. Your health start improving. Your issues disappears. That's super encouraging for people to follow the protocol. But then when you apply it to other parts of their life, it's also giving them the assurance that yes, they can, that all these naysayers inside of their head are just lying to them. And there is actually much more power, because food is one of the most comfy things that people turn to when they have issues and stress and stuff like that. So if you can develop new habits there, which is really critical, it will turn around your health, but also it will give you a boost of confidence that you can freaking do whatever you want if you decided that's the direction you want to go. So I think this is super powerful coaching niche for you. You really are influencing the entire life plus the people around them.
Absolutely, and the number of clients who reported about that their partner has started as well and lost some weight as well. It's fantastic. Spread the word. Just go and do it. There's enough already of all this 19 million heart CVD deaths, deaths from heart disease every year globally, and that's just deaths. We're not forgetting
and young people.
And getting younger and younger and younger, and the same with of course, death from complications of diabetes. But in the end, it's all comes down to your liver. It comes down to the level of insulin resistance. It comes down to the way that every single cell of your body is working. To what degree is it functioning as it should be? And I'm afraid there's this figure that's widely from one paper. I don't know. I have some doubts about it, but it's widely quoted. 88% of the US population is metabolically unhealthy. That means that the cells of their bodies are not actually functioning the way they should be, and that's a pretty scary
the American
figure.
Diet, I'm afraid I would agree, because that's you see people around you, the way they shop, the way they eat. It was funny because I came from Europe and I had a hardest time to come across, like I was looking at the bread and I'm like, I'm not gonna eat something that doesn't go bad in 30 days when you leave it on the counter. That's just freaking scary to me. No way. Plus I did not like the taste of it, and that was before I knew what everything is in it, right? So somebody like me, I was used to cook. So I just love to create my own stuff from scratch, and I control exactly what's in there. But when somebody cannot cook or doesn't have time, they really grab what is available, and the amount of preservatives and everything in aside of really bad ingredients for you. It's on the first view, you don't realize it, but if it's a regular diet, then it really destroys havoc inside, unfortunately. And
I'm afraid so. Well, I'm afraid we do tend to talk about the standard American diet, etc. But it's very simple. I mean, that's kind of the center of economic center of the world, particularly when it comes to food and pharmaceuticals. Secondly, it has the most research being done in the areas of health. So naturally, the population that's being studied is the US population. It has the longest records in terms of, government records in terms of nutrients that are made, created, or consumed. So a lot of the information is based on the US population. Needless to say, the UK and Western Europe, and today India and China and Australia, even South America, are all keeping up quite well with the USA in terms of chronic diseases of lifestyle.
It's funny you said that, because I remember somebody posted a picture from the Woodstock, And there was thousands and thousands and thousands of young people, and I don't remember the exact year, but it's in 60s, right? The Woodstock was. There was not one overweight person in the view of that picture, not one.
Yeah,
that's really scary.
There's one from the beach in the 70s or something, you know. I mean, it's the same thing. I'm always careful about these because they, of course, feed your confirmation, your confirmation bias wonderfully. You know, that no one on this beach has a belly in the 70s, and now look at this picture from 2018, and they're all obese. With, you know, it's a bit, you know, tendential. That, you know, we know that photographs can be not faked, but they can tell a story of the photographer wants to take. So these, but actually, you know, you look at the data, you look at the statistics, you look at the, you know, the research papers demonstrate that yes, you know, today 60% of the US population is overweight or obese based on BMI, but you know, the UK is not far behind that. Even in the Czech Republic, there's 10% of the population is diagnosed with diabetes type 2, but another 10% is estimated to be walking around with undiagnosed diabetes. And I see my son's schoolmates, you know, in the summer, he's 8 now, a good number of them are already the kids, at least overweight, if not some level of child obesity. So it's very sad.
That's scary. But, you know, Roderick, when we talk about this, obviously your approach is not only just about food. So if somebody was listening to this and considering that he would like to work with you, what can he expect? How could you walk us through what is the part of the protocol to get in shape with you that doesn't scare the hell out of them?
Right, sure. Well, you see, it's not just, I mean, it's basically the first month is kind of a boot camp. We meet every week and we introduce the elements of the food protocol. Well, we introduce the food protocol right from the beginning. It is mainly about food, about what you eat. It's about when you eat, the timing of food, and it's about getting in tune to your body, talking to you about when it's hungry and how much you need to eat and how long that lasts before you get hungry again. The reason why, movement, we know that movement's great, but it's time consuming. It's not very effective to rely on calories in, calories out, because to burn enough calories to consume this or that, really literally you'd have to spend hours on the treadmill. So it's not movement. That's, you know, who wants to move, go and dance, go and play with your kids, go and walk the dog, go and go to the gym, whatever it is you like, do it.
It's good, but I'm not going to send you. It's good to stay in shape for flexibility, but not particularly for losing.
Absolutely, yoga, calisthenics, or, you know, anything you like to do it for fun. Do not do it with the goal of losing weight and getting healthy. Sleep. Okay, we do look at sleep. We look at some sleep hacks, but in the end, you know, I have the CEO of an investment company I'm working with right now. He has to make a conscientious effort to go to bed by 11 p.m. and he's up at 6 a.m., which isn't too bad but if he didn't, he would be up 1 o'clock working. You know, he doesn't even have that downtime before bed. So that's important. Sleep is the cleanup period of your body. Even though you're not aware, your body is working really hard to clear up the mess that went on during your waking hours. So don't, you know, and there are also things like the temperature, the first thing you do when you wake up, the how late you should eat before you go to sleep. So that's important. We look at that, but as a second prong. Stress. Yep, there are things you can do for stress: meditation, exercise, cold baths, I don't know what. But you know, very rarely can you take away the source of the stress, the boss, the financial pressures, the whatever family pressures. It's quite hard to make a big change in that. But there's one thing you do every day, normally anyway, several times a day, at least before you come to me, and that is eat So by changing what you eat, how much and when, you can actually make the biggest impact for the smallest effort. So that's why we look primarily, it's very much food focused. And believe me, that food is tasty. I mean, this is all the stuff that your doctor, our doctors probably tell us we should avoid. But the truth is elsewhere.
Is there something that your clients struggle the most with, that you would say, that you see overall?
Only one client has actually had serious withdrawal symptoms from processed food and sugar.
Wow.
And she had to dig really deep and hard. It didn't help that she didn't have time to, let's say, do basic food preparation. You know, you don't have to spend hours cooking. You can actually cook a satiating, hearty, tasty meal in 15 minutes. But nevertheless, she didn't have that will or the time. So she really struggled. She did it. She dropped 2 dress sizes, you know, from, what was it, 12 to 8. She's, you know, she's apart from the actual body shape that changed, also some improvements in her metabolic health from blood work. But you know, she's had real problems. Otherwise, it's sometimes people, you know, people find actually their cravings either diminish or disappear in just a few weeks because of what you're eating. Keeps you so satiated, gives your body what you need. That it doesn't, your brain isn't getting all these signals saying, give me more, because I don't have enough protein or micronutrients of various types, etc. So yeah, I mean, fruit is one thing that some people struggle with. They're kind of thinking, oh God, how am I going to do without fruit? Partially that's conditioning. We've been told how much we need to eat fruit, how important it is every day. I beg to differ. Secondly, there's, of course, the sugar component. I mean, let's face it, fruit is sweet. There's a sweet reaction that we have in the reward system. There's the actual sugar, glucose and fructose that's contained. So yeah, and unfortunately, the fruit that's available today doesn't really have all the fiber and nutrients that we're told you get from fruit. So that is quite difficult, you know, that the melon, the grapes, etc. But that's about it. Otherwise, generally, people forget about bread. Surprisingly, the one thing they're most worried about, the bread, the chips, the potatoes, they realize that they can actually live without it and just have it once in a while.
I think it's also habits, and especially in Czech, the breakfast was bread with something. You know, we didn't eat cereals. Not as much sweet as in America's homes, but the bread was kind of staple in, you know, the bread with ham or bread with cheese or bread with something, and that was just snack for afternoon when the kids come back from school or in the morning. It's
indeed. Indeed. I'm afraid, though, I'm going to disappoint you that cereals are very popular here in the morning. You know, it's
well, it's easy.
Of course, it's easy. It's quick.
When you
it's
look
tasty.
at busy moms, you know, it's easy. Kids like it. Why not, right?
And they can do it themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the trick part of it. That's the industry makes it so much easier and cheaper to go to the garbage than to do something that is right for your health, unfortunately. So how long you usually work with person is there a set time, or it works until they reach the certain goal that they set for themselves?
Right. So basically, I offer programs that are 3, 6, or 12 months. Most commonly people go for 3. It's simply cheaper. Let's face it. I did have a 2-month program when I started, and I realized that it's just not long enough to break the habits. They lost shed loads of weight, and their waist shrunk, but simply they went back later. They haven't created those habits. To rewire the brain takes much longer than just a couple of months. So 3 is, that's why I increased it to 3 months minimum. although the majority of people who come to me really need to work, should be going for 6 months. I've got one client who's now 12 months, but he's going to take 2 years to get to his goal. I'm pretty sure that after 12 months, he will have, created the habits that means he'll be able to continue himself to his goal a year later.
Or he will just keep you on the side as a
or
cheat.
he'll just say, okay, I need you for the next year, and I'll say happy, I'll happily help you.
Sometimes we are both coaches, so I'm looking at what you do and I'm thinking, I heard somebody say once, when you go to gym, you don't have a trainer to show you how to do the push-up or do it for you. You have the trainer to make sure that you do them right and you don't hurt yourself.
And to do a couple extra at the end.
Or yes, and that you actually do them.
Should always be progressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Roderick, if there was one thing that most people don't know about you.
They don't know about me. Oh gosh, well, I hopefully you'll be sympathetic to this, given your country of birth. But I love beer.
Well, Czech beer, of course.
And I happen to live in the land of beer, which is great, and I still enjoy beer, and I regularly partake of it. And because the rest of my dietary lifestyle means that I'm not wrecking my body, those beers aren't doing too much damage. But I must say, beer is the devil's combination of excess simple carbohydrates and alcohol, both of which are toxic to the body, both of which make your liver work overtime, both of which will cause serious illness long term. So
but like you correctly said, if your diet was bad on top of that, it would be a whole different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the key to establishing the lifestyle that you can actually maintain is to be able to enjoy those little pleasures while most of the time you do everything that it's good for you. I'm myself, I can't resist some quality wine. I used to sell wine. It's important in my life. Look at all these French people healthy. And there are always some studies that are very, very, beneficiary about especially red wine and the health of. So it's any excuse you can get.
Any excuse, sure. Exactly. But absolutely. I think 90% good is good enough.
Yeah.
But choose your poison, I always say as well. And the fact is, you're not going to be drinking wine from morning to evening, probably. I don't drink beer from morning to evening.
Right.
Whereas you eat several times a day, let's say. And so, the potential for piling up the metabolically disruptive elements with food is far greater than having a beer in the evening or having a glass of wine with your dinner.
So if I ask you, I know you have a program or an offer that you would like to tell people about if they would be considering working with someone like you. But before we do that, I would like to ask you if you can give one piece of advice or guidance to people that are on the fence, that they kind of believe and know that something needs to change, but they may not be 100% sure if they can do it themselves or they should choose somebody like you to help them. What would be one piece of advice that you can give them right now to kind of make them move to the right direction?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is information is out there. It's easily accessible. There are countless books, which makes it very confusing. Go and find a community, whether it be on Facebook or in person somewhere, That'd be the first thing I would say. Or go and find a coach. Go and observe them, listen to them, see what they say, see if that's going to be your style of working. If you want me to give some practical, actionable advice, yes, there are, let's say, three very simple things that people can start doing straight away. That is, prioritize protein. I mean, bioavailable protein in decent amounts. We tend to undereat protein, and we tend to get most of our protein from grains, and actually that's not very doesn't have all the components that we need. So we're talking animals, fish, eggs, dairy. Prioritize that. Stick to your leafy green vegetables, and avoid particularly the refined carbohydrates like bread, rice, chips, etc. And of course, sugar, that goes without saying. And get rid of every single type of vegetable oil, so-called seed oil, vegetable oil in your house, with the exception of avocado, coconut, and olive oil, virgin olive oil, and use butter, ghee, and tallow and lard instead. So those are things you can actually start doing straight away. Go to sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time every day where possible. And there's a whole bunch of things, but those are the easy things.
So it's like listen to your biology rhythm, that your body kind of tells you what it needs, right?
I saw a beautiful post today. It was when you was it don't eat until you're hungry. When you're hungry, eat meat, and drink when you're thirsty. And that's it. And in a very, very basic shorthand, that is the key to reversing your conditions and staying fit and healthy for the rest of your life.
Yeah. You would be proud of me. My house now smells like a Greek moussaka, because I'm baking lamb, lots of spices, the good spices that boost your metabolism, and some eggplant with it, and I just love that. That's gonna be coming now, because obviously I'm in America, you are in Czech, you have evening, and I didn't have my lunch yet.
Okay.
That's okay. That's
all right.
Fantastic timing. I'm usually late myself.
Well, yeah, it's great. Cooking can be such a pleasure as well.
Yes, for me, it always was. It's surprising how many people I hear saying that it's such a chore and they hate it. And I grew up with it, and it was actually, for me, it was the stress relief to go cook. I remember when I was on the road selling, and I would have, stress all day long, people calling me, all the problems. And once I turned off and was on my way home, I would switch in my brain and start considering what is at home, if I need to stop, get something, and what am I going to cook for dinner. And I was looking forward to it, because that was my time to nourish my body and do what I like, and make sure that I eat quality food after all that stress that I was incurring during the day. So it was always pleasure for me. And I understand your wife is also a great cook.
Yes, and she particularly she's very creative in making desserts that are unsweetened, and don't use normal grain flour, but use things like almond flour, coconut flour, etc.
These are not especially so for me to cook with, but they are accessible. Yeah, that's fantastic. So if somebody would like to work with Roderick Lambert, how they can find you? What is the best way to find you?
Absolutely best way is to look me up on LinkedIn, Roderick Lambert. I'm most active there, most accessible. I also, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well, Midlife Metabolic Health. You can, I don't expect people to be sending me messages, I'm going to work with you, I know very well that there's so much information, so many people like me out there, that they might just want to observe. So just follow my profile on LinkedIn, ring the bell that's on that profile page under the banner so you get all my posts. Read what I say. If it makes sense, sign up to my email sequences. For instance, I got one on actually recipes, the ones that I lost weight on. So you can start experimenting with that, and it's full of advice and information. And then for those who either like to work out but don't have the time, or don't like to work out but need a little encouragement, then there's also some video tutorials for what I call a 20-minute twice a week home resistance training.
Yeah, I have seen those just
Right.
today. I did sign in for it. Yeah, it's amazing because you can do a lot for a shape of your body without spending 2 hours in the gym every day like some people do. That's for sure. Well, it was such a pleasure to listen to you and, to see how much you love this. And it is impactful because if anything is essential, it's our health, as we always learn the hard way. And sometimes it's too late for some people to realize that things need to change. So I would encourage everybody not to be afraid. It doesn't have to be painful. It never means, when somebody say diet, people are like, oh my God, all these things I couldn't eat. No, concentrate on what you could eat and make it as tasteful as possible. That was why I was attracted to you at the first place, because I used to be in that space and people would pay me to prepare stuff for them that was highly nutritional, highly, dietary, whatever specificity they were requesting, but still super flavorful. So they would actually stay on the protocol, which is very important. So you don't have to buy into the nonsense that diet food is bland and salad and bland chicken in the, no. The times changed, and especially what you do, it's completely different direction. That's what we was fed for last several years by the industry and everybody. So it's amazing work you do, Roderick. Thank you so much for making time for us. I know you are super busy, so I really appreciate it. We made it happen with the time change and everything. And just say hi to my home country. If I travel back home, I'll make sure that we could meet in person. That would be lovely.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Yeah,
maybe have that beer together.
Absolutely. Yes. Well,
yeah.
great.
So once again, thank you so much, Roderick. I'll put all the links to your profiles underneath the episode. So if anybody wants to reach out to Roderick, please feel free, or reach out to me if you couldn't find it, and I'll be happy to provide a connection. But it was such a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for all you do. And have a great evening for you.
You too, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your moussaka.
Thank you.